Have you ever finished mowing your yard and felt like your mower knew something you did? What if the difference between a smooth, easy cut and a breakdown, scalp mark, or huge repair bill was hiding in plain sight on the machine you already own? Before we get into it, do me a quick favor. If you love smart, practical tips that save money and stress, tap like, subscribe, and share this with one person who treats their mower like a mystery box. Most people think mowing is simple. Gas, key, cut, move on. But that idea is exactly why so many mower owners waste money, fight their machine, and blame the wrong thing when trouble starts. Modern mowers are packed with small features that look unimportant until one of them saves your weekend. Some protect the engine, the lawn, and your body. One can save you from a brutal repair bill. The strange part is that most of these tricks are not really tricks at all. They were built into the mower from the start. The problem is that almost nobody explains them well. A dealer may rush the walk-around. A manual may hide the answer in tiny print. So today, we are going to fix that. By the end of this, you will look at your mower in a completely different way. You will know what to check before buying a used one, what to shut off before storage, what to adjust for a cleaner cut, what to stop forcing when the mower feels stubborn, and what hidden release can rescue you when the machine dies far from the garage. Let's start with the number that tells the truth, even when a seller does not. If you own a riding mower, one of the most valuable pieces of information on the machine is the hour meter. Most owners stop noticing it after the first week. That is a mistake. The hour meter tells you how long the mower has actually been used, and that number matters more than the age stamped on a listing. A mower can look clean, shiny, and barely touched, but if the hour meter is high, it has lived a harder life than the seller wants you to imagine. Think of it like mileage on a truck. Two machines may be the same model year, but one may have spent a few seasons cutting a small, flat yard, while the other may have worked a rough acre every week in heat, dust, and wet grass. From 10 feet away, they can look similar. The meter tells a deeper story. If you are buying used, this number should never be an afterthought. It also helps you as an owner. A lot of maintenance schedules are based on operating hours, not guesses. Oil changes, filter checks, blade service, and other routine care make much more sense when you use the machine's actual work time instead of trying to remember when you last dealt with it. People who follow that meter usually spend less because they catch problems earlier. People who ignore it often wait until something sounds wrong, smells wrong, or stops working. By then, the cheap fix is gone. And if you ever sell your mower, a low and believable hour count can help build trust fast. Buyers are nervous for a reason. They know some machines are polished right before sale to hide a tired life. A clear hour reading combined with simple maintenance records gives your mower a quiet kind of credibility. So whether you are buying, maintaining, or selling, the hour meter is not just a little number on the dash. It is the machine's memory. Now let's move to something even smaller, but just as important for long-term survival. Somewhere near the fuel line or tank on many mowers, there is a simple fuel shutoff valve. It does not look exciting. It does not sound powerful. And because of that, many owners never touch it. But this small valve can save you from one of the most common off-season headaches in lawn equipment. Gasoline does not stay fresh forever. Leave fuel sitting in the carburetor for too long, especially during storage, and it can start to break down. What was once clean fuel turns sticky. That sticky residue can clog passages, make spring starts miserable, and in some cases send you straight into carburetor cleaning or replacement. That is why shutting off the fuel and letting the engine use what remains in the line before long storage can be such a smart habit. It sounds minor. It is. Ask anyone who has spent the first warm day of spring yanking a starter cord or cranking a key while the mower coughs, sputters, and refuses to wake up. That frustration usually does not begin in spring. It begins months earlier when the mower was parked with old fuel left sitting where it should not have been. 10 calm seconds in the fall can save you 30 angry minutes later. And this is not only for expensive riding mowers. Small engines are small engines. A basic push mower can suffer the same gummy fuel problem just as easily. If your model has a shutoff valve, learn where it is and use it before storage or service. The next hidden feature is one many people use without fully understanding. That is the mulching plug, or in some cases the discharge setup that chain. What happens to your clippings. Many owners do not realize their mower may mulch, side discharge, or bag grass depending on setup. They just use whatever mode the machine came in and assume that is how it is meant to stay. But each mode changes how the mower behaves and how the lawn responds. When the mower is set to mulch, the blade keeps clippings under the deck longer so they get chopped smaller and dropped back into the lawn. That can be great when the grass is dry, not too tall, and healthy. The finer clippings disappear faster and can feed nutrients back into the soil. It also saves you from stopping over and over to empty a bag. But mulching is not the right answer every time. If the grass is long, wet, or full of disease, leaving thick clumps behind can create a mess or spread problems you do not want spreading. That is when bagging makes more sense. Side discharge can also help when the lawn is heavy, and you need to keep the mower moving without stuffing everything into a bag or trapping too much under the deck. This matters because many people blame the mower for clumping, streaking, or leaving rows of grass when the real issue is that the machine is in the wrong mode for the conditions. Your mower may not be failing. It may simply be doing exactly what the current setup tells it to do. Once you understand that, you stop fighting the result and start choosing it. And that leads to another control people misunderstand all the time on self-propelled mowers. If you have ever wrestled a self-propelled mower and thought, "Why is this thing dragging me or refusing to move?" there is a good chance the problem was not the engine at all. It was the drive control. On many self-propelled mowers, the bar or lever that moves the wheels is separate from the control that keeps the engine running, and on some designs, separate from blade engagement too. That sounds obvious once you know it, but a lot of people never really learn the difference. So what happens? Some squeeze the wrong bar and expect the mower to pull itself. Others panic when the mower keeps driving forward after they only meant to pause their walking pace. New owners can spend whole weekends using a self-propelled mower like a heavy push mower because nobody explained the controls. Once you understand the separation, the machine feels smarter. You can let the wheels help you on long passes. You can release drive without shutting everything down. You can stop fighting the mower near flower beds, trees, and corners. In other words, you move from reacting to the machine to controlling it. That is a big shift, and it makes mowing less tiring almost instantly. Now let's talk about a switch that causes a surprising amount of confusion on riding mowers. The blade engagement control, often called the PTO switch. A lot of owners expect the blades to engage like a light switch. Instant, sharp, immediate. But on some mowers, especially depending on wear, design, or the way the system is built, the switch may need a firmer pull or a slightly more deliberate hold than people expect. That small delay makes many owners think the switch has failed when it has not. Of course, switches can wear out. That happens. But people often jump to that conclusion too fast. They tug once, nothing happens instantly, and their mind goes straight to repair cost. Meanwhile, the real answer may be that the blades engage in a more controlled way to reduce shock on belts and pulleys. That softer engagement can actually help the drive system last longer because it avoids slamming everything at full force all at once. There is another detail here that matters. Some mowers want blade engagement at a certain throttle position. Depending on the machine, the manual may recommend a specific engine speed when turning the blades on or off. If you ignore that and just guess every time, the mower may feel inconsistent and you may blame the wrong part again. The larger lesson is simple. If something feels delayed, do not assume it is broken. Learn how your specific machine is meant to respond. A mower is full of behaviors that feel strange only because no one translated them for you. And speaking of things that are easy to ignore until your lawn shows the damage, let's get under the deck for a moment. Quick timeout. If you've learned one thing you wish you knew sooner, hit like, subscribe for more practical fixes, and share this with a friend who never reads the manual. Those little wheels mounted near the deck edge on many riding mowers are not decoration. They are anti-scalp wheels, and their job is to keep the deck from digging into the ground when your yard is uneven. Yet a huge number of people never adjust them after buying the mower. They trust the factory setting and hope for the best. That works only if your yard happens to match the factory's idea of average. Many yards do not. Maybe yours has shallow dips. Maybe the soil settles after rain. Maybe a slope near the driveway causes the deck to dip on turns. Maybe one section always seems to come out ugly no matter how carefully you drive. Anti-scalp wheel adjustment could be the missing piece. The goal is not to have those wheels constantly riding on the ground. They are supposed to support the deck when needed, not carry it all the time. Usually, you want them just high enough to clear the ground most of the time, but close enough to step in when the deck would otherwise scrape. A small adjustment can make a dramatic difference in how clean the cut looks. What is interesting is how often people blame blade sharpness or deck level first. Those things matter too, but anti-scalp wheels are one of the most overlooked causes of random bald patches and ugly gouges. If your lawn looks fine in some places and terrible in others, this deserves attention before you start replacing parts. Now let's move from cutting quality to cleaning. Because there is another feature that sounds simple but only works well if you understand what it can and cannot do. Some mower decks come with a wash port, which is basically a spot where you can attach a garden hose and rinse clippings out from underneath the deck. On paper, it sounds amazing. Hook up the hose, turn on the water, and the mess is gone. In real life, results vary. That is because people often use it wrong and then decide the whole feature is useless. For a wash port to help, the deck usually needs to be in the right position. The water pressure needs to be decent. And on many models, the blades need to be spinning while the water flows so the spray and airflow can move the buildup around. If you skip those conditions, you may just create wet grass paste under the deck instead of removing much. So is the wash port a gimmick? Not exactly. It can reduce buildup, save scraping time, and help prevent damp clumps from hardening under the deck. But it is not magic. Think of it as a helper, not a complete replacement for inspection. If you mow wet grass often, if you let debris sit too long, or if buildup is already thick, you may still need manual cleaning. The trick is knowing what the feature can realistically do so you do not expect movie-level results from a hose fitting. Next is a comfort feature that sounds lazy until you use it on a larger property and realize it is actually brilliant. Many riding mowers have cruise control, and a lot of owners either forget it exists or never trust it enough to try it. That is understandable. The words cruise control and mower do not sound like they belong together. But on long, straight sections of open yard, it can make the whole job less tiring. Instead of keeping constant pressure on the pedal the entire time, cruise control lets you lock in a steady pace. It matters more than people think. Leg fatigue builds slowly, and a steady pace can also help produce a more even cut. The key is knowing where not to use it. Tight spaces, slopes, busy areas, and tricky trimming zones are not the place. Cruise control is for the easy stretches where consistency helps and surprise obstacles are unlikely. Used there, it feels less like a novelty and more like a feature designed by someone who actually mowed a big yard before. Now we are getting into the features that are less about convenience and more about protection. One of the most misunderstood systems on a riding mower is the safety interlock tied to the seat, brake, and blade operation. Owners often notice it only when it stops them from doing something they wanted to do. They shift in the seat, try to step off quickly, or attempt something out of sequence, and the engine shuts down or the blades stop. Their first reaction is often frustration. But that system is not there to annoy you. It is there because riding mowers can become dangerous in a split second. A machine with spinning blades and moving wheels does not need much time to create a serious injury. The interlock system is designed to make sure the mower does not keep operating when the person in control is no longer truly in control. That means if the engine dies when you leave the seat with the blades engaged, the mower is likely doing what it was designed to do. If it resists certain actions while the blades are spinning, that may be intentional. Many people only begin to appreciate this after a close call, when they realize how fast a small slip or distraction could have gone wrong. And yet some owners try to defeat these systems because they find them inconvenient. That is a gamble. The few seconds you think you are saving are tiny compared to the risk you are taking away from yourself. A mower is not the place to act like safety engineering is optional. The smartest hidden trick here is not bypassing the system. It is understanding it well enough to work with it. Now for a feature that many owners discover only when they are already stranded. A lot of riding mowers and zero-turn mowers use hydrostatic transmissions. That sounds technical, but here is the simple version. Instead of shifting through normal car-style gears, the mower uses hydraulic force to drive the wheels. It makes operation smooth and easy, but it also creates a problem most people do not see coming. When the engine is off, those machines often do not want to roll freely. In fact, trying to force one can feel like pushing a boulder with tires. And if the mower dies in the middle of the yard because of a dead battery, engine trouble, or some other issue, owners sometimes panic and do the worst thing possible. They tow it hard, drag it, or force the wheels against the system. That mistake can get expensive fast. What many of these mowers have is a bypass lever, sometimes called a freewheel control or hydro release. It is often tucked near the transmission area or rear wheels, and on some zero turns there may be one for each side. When released correctly, it allows the mower to roll without fighting the locked transmission. It turns a trapped machine into one you can push safely by hand. This matters because the wrong kind of force on a hydrostatic system can damage internal components that are not cheap to replace. What should have been a simple dead battery problem can become a transmission problem if you treat the mower like a wagon and yank it around without knowing what you are doing. Picture it, the sun is dropping, half the lawn is cut. The mower goes dead far from the garage. Your first instinct is to get it moving any way you can. That is exactly when this hidden lever becomes pure gold. Owners who know about it look calm. Owners who do not start inventing repair bills in their head before the mower even moves. Another hidden trick is checking deck level before you assume the machine cuts badly. A lot of people sharpen the blades, clean the deck, and still complain that one side of the mower seems to cut lower than the other. The reason is often not mysterious. The deck itself may be slightly out of level. Hitting roots, bouncing over rough ground, years of normal vibration, or even a recent tire pressure difference can throw off cut quality more than people realize. This becomes frustrating because the grass still gets cut, so the mower does not feel broken in an obvious way. But the lawn looks off. One stripe seems lower. One pass leaves a faint step line. The whole yard feels a little rough around the edges even though you cannot immediately explain why. Many owners live with that for months because the mower is good enough. It does not have to be. A deck level check using the manufacturer's method can restore a cleaner cut. Some machines are set slightly lower in front than in back for better cutting and discharge. Others need side-to-side balance checked first. The exact numbers vary by model, but the lesson stays the same. Before you blame the blades, blame the alignment. A crooked deck can make sharp blades look useless. Now let's talk about tire pressure, because this is one of those boring details that affects more than people expect. On a riding mower, uneven tire pressure can quietly change cut height, steering feel, traction, and deck attitude all at once. A soft tire on one side can make the mower lean just enough to create an uneven cut, especially if you already have a slight deck adjustment issue. It can also make the machine feel strange on turns, which some owners mistake for a drive problem. The reason this trick stays hidden is that mower tires do not always look visibly low until they are really low. Unlike a car, the difference can be subtle, so owners skip checks, then spend time adjusting the deck to compensate for a problem that was really just air pressure. That is backwards. Tire pressure is one of the first things to verify when cut quality suddenly changes for no obvious reason. It takes only a minute, but it can save you from chasing false problems, buying parts you did not need, or making deck adjustments that create new issues later. Now for the final trick, the one that separates casual owners from people who keep a machine alive for years. Listen to the mower before it fails. That may sound vague, but it is one of the most practical skills you can build. Mowers usually talk before they quit. A belt starts chirping, a blade sounds less smooth, a pulley gains a rough note, a transmission begins to wind differently on hills, the engine starts a little harder than usual, the steering feels slightly more stubborn. None of those signals mean immediate disaster on their own, but together they form a pattern. Most expensive mower problems do not feel expensive at first. They feel small, easy to ignore, easy to postpone. That is exactly why they grow. People are busy. The grass still gets cut, so they keep going until the sound becomes a failure, the vibration becomes a broken part, or the weak start becomes a machine that will not start at all. The hidden trick is not having some secret mechanic talent, it is taking small changes seriously while they are still small. If the mower suddenly sounds different, inspect it. If engagement feels rough, do not keep forcing it for 3 more weekends. If the cut changes, do not assume it will somehow fix itself. Machines reward attention. Neglect always sends the bill later. By now you can see the pattern. Your mower is not just an engine with blades. It is a system. A number on the dash tells its history. A valve protects its fuel system. A plug or chute setup changes how it handles clippings. A drive lever changes how it moves. A blade switch has its own personality. Small wheels protect the deck. A wash port helps when used correctly. Cruise control saves energy when the ground allows it. Safety interlocks guard against disaster. A bypass lever can rescue a dead machine. Deck level and tire pressure shape the cut, and the sounds it makes can warn you long before a breakdown does. That is why some people seem to own a mower forever while others feel like theirs is always one weekend away from trouble. It is not luck. It is attention. It is understanding. It is knowing that the smallest part on the machine can decide whether Saturday feels smooth or miserable. So the next time you walk into your garage and look at your mower, do not just see a chore waiting for you. See a machine full of signals. See clues you used to ignore. See the hidden features that stop problems before they become expensive. Because the biggest difference between a frustrated owner and a confident one is usually not money or horsepower. It is knowing what the mower has been trying to tell you all along. Before you head out, one last favor. If this gave you a smarter eye for your mower, subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Like the video so more homeowners find it, and share it with someone who deserves fewer breakdowns and better Saturdays.